Right. Okay. Well, thank everybody. I thank everybody for coming to here today to Mysterious Universe. And thank you so much for following me around all over the place, because you were in Devizes one year, Avery another year. I feel like a Romany, if I'm permitted to say that these days. But I really do. I couldn't get the venue that I wanted. Those of you that came to the Secret History of Stonehenge film launch would have seen that's the venue I wanted. But everything was booked in September apart from here. And I didn't want to do one in October or November because they'd be clashing with colleagues of mine. And I wasn't prepared to do that. So thank you for coming here. Next year, I do have a venue for the next 2 years. So roaming around no more. But it's a pretty place, and we're going to have utilize the energies of the area, and I'm going to host a free tour at lunchtime. So I'm going to go through the day now, okay, what's happening, and this is welcome to everybody live streaming. We have people from Australia, we have people from Ireland, we've got the very famous Thomas Sheridan from Ireland live streaming and listening to us, and we've got people from Canada and America. So hail and welcome to all and one. So the program of today is going to be Nan Akasha is going to be our first speaker, and she's going to be 10 to 11, and then from 11 to 11:30 we have a tea break, and we thank Polly and Nigel for doing the kitchen, because Polly will be putting the kettle on. Won't you, Polly? Polly put the kettle on. So we have the wonderful Polly, and who needs British Bake Off when you see her cakes? They are gorgeous. Yeah, first prize there. And 11:30 to 12:30, we have the wonderful Ilona Woods. And then we're going to have a nice long lunch break, 12:30 to 2, where we're going to go to St. Mary's. I will say the hassle that I've had from certain people that wear black cloth with a white bit round it. So we're going to have to be really sneaking. That's 12:30 to 2:30, and that's in honor of my late father, because he was the one that discovered that. I'm also going to show you who was our master dowser as well during my talk, and he also was into these PowerPoints and other bits besides. Then at 2:30 to 3:30, we have the one and only David Furlong. I've known David for 20 or some years. I used to douse with him and my dad. I followed him all of these years, and I've done all of the churches that are on his PowerPoint as well that he'll be talking about. From his Keys to the Temple book, which must have been about 25 years ago. I think that book came out. And then we're going to have a tea break, 3:30 to 4 o'clock. And Polly will put the kettle on again. Hey. And then last but not least, I'm going to end it with talking about my recent trip to America's Stonehenge and how earth energies can decode not just what's beneath your feet, but the rituals that were placed there, because I've done a whole decodement of America's Stonehenge that Dennis Stone, the owner, really appreciated, and so did the Native Americans as well. So I think I'm pretty on the money there. And so without further ado, we are going to say Nan Akasha up here. Yay, let's hear it for Nan. Let's hear it for Nan. Yes, Nan. I'll just give a brief introduction, because Nan is more than capable of doing her own introduction. I met Nan a couple of years ago and started leading some tours over here to Stonehenge and Avebury and other places besides, like Glastonbury. And what I love about Nan is she's real. Yeah, it's really difficult to to cut through the mire sometimes. Don't touch the wire. Don't touch the wire. So yeah, I met Nan, and Nan's so knowledgeable about everything to do with Mayan magic, and you're a Jaguar medicine woman, aren't you? You can tell I've been hanging out with Nan. I've got so much obsidian on me. But yeah, so Nan is great. She's a real expert on the Mayan way, isn't it? And I've learned so much from Nan, because a lot of people don't speak about what Nan is speaking about because they don't know. They just tell you about the solar rite and serpents rising and things. But Nan knows it inside out because she lives in Mexico, don't you? You live and breathe the side. So, Nan Akasha.
Thank you. Does that sound okay? I don't know how far to put it. Okay, let me know if you can't hear me. That's a rare thing, though. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thank you, Maria. What a blessing to be here. We just finished a retreat with Maria at a lot of wonderful places, and I got a chance to talk to a few of you as you came in. A lot of people talking about serpents. Serpent energy. Of course, we're in the serpent year, right, for the Chinese astrology. So it's a great year to talk about it. And one of the things that I love is that I live with the Maya. We live in the Yucatan. We've lived there for 10 years. We were going to stay for 2 weeks, and we're still there. And we were on our way to Thailand, and we've not made it there yet. So that's what Spirit does when it can find you. And remember, if you want to get on the email list or see anything, I brought the obsidian from my go out to the Maya, and everything I brought, the copal, which is the incense, the oracle decks, and the obsidian, was all blessed at Chichen Itza, which I'm going to be sharing with you in a minute. What happens at the solar, at the equinoxes, but what is really going on versus the story they tell you if you go there. And also with Maria in Stonehenge on the high altar last week. Everything I have was blessed on the high altar with our group during our meditation. So I always take these everywhere I go to do ceremony, so they're a little more special than just getting something off the shelf. So one thing that's wonderful is I want to share that Maria is coming to Mexico. So in March, we're going to be going for many days. There's a lot of information. We're going to see, I think, 8 different sacred sites. And for 3 days, my friend and Mayan priest and teacher, Miguel Angel, is going to be with us. He was the director at Chichen Itza, which is this site, the World Heritage most famous site, for 4 years. So he's also studied, he's a wisdom keeper for the Maya. And so he knows what the real meanings are. And I'm going to share some of that with you. So if you're interested, you can go here. Here you can start to see the triangular serpent. These are all my photos. Nobody else's photos anymore, right? So I'm going to share 2 with you. This Chichen Itza, which most people have heard of. Has everybody heard of the solar descent, of the phenomenon? Okay. What's so interesting about it is now it's kind of like, oh yeah, I've heard of that, or I saw a video of that. But you think about when they found it, it was in ruins, right? And somebody bought it as a ranch. They just bought the whole area, had this as their ranch, built a hotel out of the stones like they do here. And, but when they reconstructed it, nobody knew this happened. It wasn't written down, everything. The Spanish spent 450 years burning everything they could get their hands on. And yet we had about 6 to 9 codexes, Mayan books in the world known until the last few years. They're building a Mayan train. They're finding a lot of ruins in the jungle. They're finding caves. They found 10 new codexes. They found pottery with paintings. They're finding artwork like the Greek that have so much more information than we've had. So the information is rising very, very, very quickly. And what happens is that there's also other spots. This is a very big site. There's something called a ball court. Has anybody heard about the Mayan ball game? Were you told that they chopped off the head of the winning captain? Not true. They also didn't sacrifice people. So when Miguel Angel was at the site, he started to research. Where are the tombs? Where are the heads? Where are the skulls? They have a thing next to the ball court, between the ball court and this, and it's covered in skulls, like the carvings. And they say, oh, they put sticks here with all the cut off heads on them. Not a single skull was found anywhere near there, and they've excavated very deep. So there's no evidence for it, as well as the sacred information that he's received from the Maya around what these things really mean. And the bottom line, it's always about ego. You have to chop off the head of your ego, and then you can rise to what you came here to do. And so it's very beautiful. And then the ball court on the morning of the equinox, this is the afternoon, this is the sunset of the equinox. Right across from it, the sun rises and a light comes through a door, down this, through the hoop of the ball court, down over the skull carving of all the people showing this is what you do when you're at your top level of initiation. You really go for it. You get rid of your ego. You step into your soul purpose. And then it comes up the other side. This also is half black and half white on the solstice, if you could see it from above. And the side that's black is where, whether it's the northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere, that is now going into a darker day. So it goes on, and I'm also going to show you a picture that the moon does this too, the full moon. So there's a balance in everything they do, there's a balance of the masculine and feminine, really powerful. This site is about maybe an hour from my house, and hardly anybody's ever heard of it. It's called Sibil Sheltun. And I'm going to show you this one first. This we do in the morning. So thankfully now they open this about 4:35 a.m. And as the sun rises, it comes through here. You can kind of see a face. And it completely changes the light. These are initiation sites. All of these are ceremony sites. Nobody lived there. There were no castles. There were no kings. There were no tombs. Nobody was buried in any of this. Okay. So they went there, and you would have to start at the outlying temples to raise your consciousness, go through your initiations before you would get to come here, which inside there's 3 pyramids. So there's a lot of layers of their cosmovision, that above and below, right, Xibalba, and then the surface, the 3 layers. There's 9 of these, which represent the 9 waves of consciousness. And we're now at the top wave as of about 2011, 2012. Also, the Maya never said the world was ending in 2012. That was someone else, and everybody kept repeating them. The Maya kept saying, no, we did not say that. It's the end of a cycle. They track cycles. They had almost 26 calendars that interlocked. Right now, 2 or 3 that they use. So they were one of the most advanced in terms of understanding stars, cycles, reflection of like what Maria talks about, how on Earth we have temples or other places that represent different planets, different, right across from here is the Temple of Venus, which is one of the most important planets to them. So here is, you get to have this initiation. There's a long road, and you get it right here on your 3rd eye. So you might already be feeling something, because the nice thing about these kinds of photographs now is that they carry frequency, right? So these all were very sound activated. They're sacred mantras. Like Maria talks about, their sound and frequency and crystal and minerals in everything, and they react. So when you had a temple activation, you would actually embody that temple as if it was one of you. They're power plants. My Mayan priest calls Chichen Itza a nuclear power plant. And he has a book that he wrote together with his teacher, who's passed now, that he has not had permission to publish, because it contains information about Chichen Itza that they don't want anyone to know yet. Similar to Stonehenge, we have a lot of military now at Chichen Itza because they're starting to become aware of the energies. So when you see these, similar to, Egypt and other places, the precision is beyond belief, not just for sacred geometry and alignments, but because it activates within you. As you climb the 91 steps to get to that top of the temple, you're going through the layers of consciousness, and you're meant to be aware that you are reliving it and then releasing it, and reliving it and releasing it. So we've been at the state of consciousness, or we've had access to the state of consciousness of unity for over 10 years now. You can see the world's trying to figure that one out. We're moving there. It's going to happen regardless. So let's dive into Sibil Sheltun. These are some Google Earth. They're not really great, but one of the interesting things is most of it is not excavated. So you have, what was interesting to me, and this is for people who like all that information that Maria shares about, this is the Mayan name here. Oh, I got the pointer right. And is they found 7 figures so they call it the Temple of the 7 Dolls. And all of the Mayan elders that I've studied with, that I've read, that I've researched, say that talks not about the chakras, but about your 7 bodies. And your 7 bodies are slightly different than chakras. One of them is your will. That's a big one right now with the serpent. So what's interesting is you go here, this is where the sun rises, but you can't even go over here. Okay. And then to see this alignment, they had what were called sakbe. They mean white road. Literally, they were white roads, and they went absolutely straight in the cardinal directions, all the way up into the US, all the way down to Guatemala, across everywhere. And so you can see that they are very aware of that. Another thing that's interesting is that it's the same alignment as the pyramid at Teotihuacan. So if you like Teotihuacan and you're familiar with that one. So this is what it looks like when it's just beginning. And this is an old temple that was built over it here. Is that? Here we go. And this was the first temple. Now, this had carvings all over it. These were mostly painted white, green, yellow. And but you can see the quality of light that as it comes through here, it is completely transformed. You end up seeing the sun, and you can stare right at it. You don't even need an obsidian, which, by the way, you can watch the eclipses and the sun with this. So this is the long Sakbe here. The Temple of Venus is way over here, down here. And here you can see how it starts to be aligned, comes through here, becomes a face, actually. This is Chak. That's the rain god, or the god of abundance, which they covered everything with. So you get to go there. You can see we have a little moon, stars. You get to stand around, try not to get bit by mosquitoes. And then as it starts to come in, you're quite a ways down that road, and you align yourself so that as it rises, it hits you right here. Quite profound, because it's not just like staring at the sun. It has this transformative quality as it comes through here. Then after it rises, right, it goes up there, you move forward, you change your horizon, and it happens again. And we are able to do it 7 times. What a coincidence. So this is, we just did this in March with my retreat. It's really quite beautiful. And you can see also, this is not my slide, by the way. Looks like we have really groovy light, but that's actually coming from the windows. So, and it's a very profound thing. Now, this was an initiation site, and the purpose is that you went to the different temples, the outlying temples, to have your different activations to all the Maya. It was a very equal society, and all the Maya were raised in some level of priest or priesthood understanding, sacred wisdom to a certain degree. So some things about Mayan cosmology: they knew from the day they were born, they were divine and human. There was no like, oh, am I good enough? You know. And the whole village and the elder who would do your birth chart would know who you were, what your purpose was. So I'm Ish, which is the sacred feminine day sign of the jaguar. And that would have meant that I would have been raised as a shaman. And they would know that from day one. And everybody would have been going, okay, now you should, okay, we need to get her with you, and you need to do this. Not what we have here, like, I want you to be a doctor. I don't want to do that. I want to live my own life, right? Everybody knew, because your place within the community meant that you all could create the purpose of the greater good on earth. The equality was so that women could leave a marriage without legal, with everything they owned. No one got upset. People came in and out. And there was always priestesses and priests. Now the priestesses are arising, and really speaking, I see them physically, along with my Mayan teacher and another lady that he works with, who channels a high priestess from Palenque. And I've always heard them. I've been working mystery schools for almost 38 years now. 3 different mystery schools in Egypt. I had 3 years old, I think. I had past life memories as an oracle in Greece. And the first time I went to many of these places, I was telling my parents, oh, it's over there and that's over there. But nobody knew what that was, so I couldn't do anything with it at the time. Now let's see. This is inside the Temple of Venus. Somebody was showing me a picture earlier. You know, you go to sacred sites, especially if you do sacred work, because we always go do activations. We go in a sacred way. We talk to the guardians of the land. We always prepare. Believe me, you want to prepare. It's one of the reasons I discovered obsidian, because I went and messed around in the jungle with the really powerful things and actually got a little possessed for a while, for a few hours. And it's one of the things that we wear for protection. It also helps you see through the dark, whether it's your own shadows, your own fears, someone else's, helps clear bruises, helps heal. And you can see this light here. So this was in January, right, honey? So this was a group of ladies that I took to the Temple of Venus. It was not on a special day of the equinox or anything. And they were visiting, and I kept getting the message, I have to take her particularly here. When we go inside, I'm always talking to it. Every time you go, there might be, oh, this is a power spot, but it can change. So when I walked in, this part of the wall was a vortex of energy, and it was pulling. It was very extracting almost. So I told them, and then I went to the end and came back, and she had a very profound transformation. Then we went up on top of the pyramid and did a meditation. And this is the kind of thing that happens. These kind of energies come. It's very, very powerful at these sites. And most people have past life memories. They have certain activations. They have certain things that are released, certain things that are healed. So this is Chichen Itza, as most people know. And I think it's about 30 meters tall with the temple at the top. It's got the 4 sides, represents the 4 cardinal directions. There's 91 steps on each of these. And if you stand in the courtyard and clap, it sounds like the Quetzal bird, which is their sacred bird. It goes cheep, 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 cheep. Just one of the many sound elements that they have to go with this. So this was in this March of this year. And one of the interesting things about this is a picture from my Mayan priest, because you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When it's the equinox, it's 7. 7 is a sacred number because they have 13 sacred numbers in their calendar. So if you count up the pyramid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the top. They consider 7 the number that you can see all perspectives. Then you come down the other side, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 is a sacred number to them as well. And what happens is there's actually 33 days that this happens. Most people hear, oh, it happens on the equinox or for 2 days on the equinox. And they do stay open late for 2 days because it goes a little bit into the past their kick you out hours, and they get big whistles like their gym coaches. So by the end, you start with 6 on the first day, which is March 5th. By the end, which is April 6th, I think, you have 8. And this is perfect balance of dark and light. And of course, you have the serpent's head. So Kukulkan is, and it's Quetzalcoatl. A lot of people have heard that. That's the Aztec name for the same being. They did not believe in God, and they did not believe in many gods. They were not polytheistic. They believed in oneness of everything, which is called Hunab Ku. And Ku, you see here the beginning of Kukulkan, Ku, means Lord, but not Lord of someone over you, someone who's an expert at something. So if you're the, Polly is the lordess of the coffee and the tea, right? That's what they would say. They called everything a lord or a lordess. And they often use the word ku for temples because it is a sacred, and you are the master of yourself, of your own temple. And that's what this is meant to bring you back to. The actual meaning of Chichen Itza, Itza is a group of beings came from Atlantis, similar to Thoth came to Egypt. So when they sent people out to the different lands, Itzamna came here. And about an hour from my house is a town called Izamal. And at the retreat I'm doing with Maria, we're going to go there the very first day. It is the most unusual place I've ever been. And I could go on for about 10 years now. Before I came, I went up to the top of the pyramid at 3 a.m. and I did a 4-hour ceremony there. And Itzamna is like the father, the kindly father. He says, you're light, only light, eternal light. That's what this is for. Kukulkan is Christ, is the Holy Spirit, is the one that comes to fill you with the light, never judging you, and embodies unconditional love and sacred knowledge. So this is a download of unconditional love and sacred knowledge into your 33 vertebrae over the 33 days. The head is always in the sun. This starts at the top, I'll show you in a minute, ends here, and then it goes back up. So he comes down, and then he goes back up. And the tongue comes out of the serpent head, lays on the earth because it's feeding the earth, and he shall who is the earth goddess, moon goddess, is receiving that light, filling her own self, and then bringing it back up. And you are a part of this cosmos. So this is literally about becoming Christ consciousness, becoming love, forgiveness, acceptance, all that beautiful stuff that we're here to do. Now, it says this means the city of the water witches. These were the magicians. This is one of the higher level initiation sites. There's many, many temples here. There's a priestess temple. There's different areas. We're even going to be going to Old Chichen, which is means Old Chichen Itza, but it's very Atlantean. They have Atlanteans carved. They know they came from Atlantis, and they also know they came from the Pleiades. So those are the main cosmologies. So what that means literally is Kukulkan means feathered serpent or bird serpent. And it means the same in Aztec. And that there's a deeper meaning. So what's interesting is they'll say, oh, this site means the site where many things were written down. That's the one I showed you before. And then you talk to one of the elders and they say, well, the actual sacred language means something else. So what this site, what Kukulkan actually means in Maya is the one whose name is whispered on a breath and honored in the infinite. Now, worship, I tend to avoid that because we were trained to think we're worshiping and we're not good enough and everything's above us. They didn't have that. Okay, that wasn't part of the cosmology. So it's a beautiful thing. Now, this year, I did the 33 days. I managed to be there in person 17 of those days. Sat at the bottom there in front of the serpent head with it, chanting the sacred chants as this came down. So here you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the beginning of the 33 days. This is March 5th, not the 21st. I'm sitting there. Nobody's there for this. And even the guides are just walking by. Nobody's saying a word. And one lady came over and she said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm just enjoying, because it's illegal to do pre-Hispanic music or ceremony on Mayan sites. They're not allowed. So they even take away your instruments. If I go in with a rattle in my backpack, they take it away now. I used to be able to go to the top of the pyramid and take my retreats and lay out an altar and light candles and do all kinds of stuff, but they don't let you do that anymore. And so what happens is that with each chant, it takes 9 minutes for each triangle to appear. This is a huge plaza here. This is what's called the Temple of the Warriors. These are warriors of light. That's you and me. There's serpents, there's jaguars, there's Chakmul, who's an Atlantean that holds his solar plexus and says, gather the sun, gather the sun. Everything's about the sun. And they don't even realize what's happening as it's happening. So the nice thing is people are walking around getting the download. I'm like, yay, you're here. But the plaza was actually tiled. This was all tile and painted red, the entire thing. And they would have up to 50,000 priests and priestesses here, all chanting the same thing for 9 minutes as each triangle of light appeared. Could you imagine? I don't know. I'm already leaving my body right now. So the way this is vibrating and the way that you probably know the stones react to sound, they have their crystal lattice, they have their memory. And all the elders I've worked with say, I always say, oh, I talk to the stones and they're talking to me and they take me places. They say, oh yeah, they just they packed the information into the stones. Right now we're working with the priestesses that want to come back because most cultures knew that something was going to come, like the Spanish, and end their culture at the time. So they took their wisdom and saved it and preserved it. So the Spanish may have, knocked down the temples and burned the books, but the priestesses and priests were taught how to actually extract the information from their own body, their own cells, into the earth and into the stones so that it could reawaken now for us. It's quite profound. So all of these things here, also the serpent represents Kundalini, as everybody pretty much knows. The Maya call that Toyopa. They call it the lightning in your blood. This is something you carry in your blood, right? You're in your DNA, in your matrix of your cells, in your memories, in your soul. And when you do this, you are awakening it. But it isn't like we say, oh, Kundalini awakening, I can't function now. The other thing about this is they also call Kukulkan the precious plumed serpent. Again, it's representing the heart of the sky, the heart of the earth. So the serpent is earth energy, right? And the bird is sky energy, air energy. Let's see, okay. Now, I was talking to somebody earlier. This is the rattle tail. It's carved in the feathers, and it's carved on many, 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 many things. Looks like a heart. And the serpent that this was based on is only found in the Yucatan. It's a specific kind of rattlesnake, and it has a sacred pattern on the back. All Mayan art, all Mayan art engineering, all architecture, everything they did was based on the pattern on the back of the snake, because it has the perfect movement and measure. They took that and they were able to figure everything else out. So it's a very precious, and the more rattles you have, it represents your crown chakra. So every time a serpent sheds their skin, they're perfectly formed underneath, and they've grown a new rattle. It's not like you're born as some baby and you're helpless, but they also have to rub across sharp rocks or rub across a thorny bush. So often when we're with our retreat, we get done with an activation and we're walking along and there'll be a snake skin hanging out of the stone or hanging from a bush. And I like to use that as a spiritual teacher. I have a mystery school. I like to teach that that's the same as us, right? When we're done with something, it doesn't suit us anymore, but it's a habit, or we want to please other people, or we don't know what to do next. We literally have to go, okay, I got to get rid of this. This is limiting me. I don't even know who I am. Maybe I have to go through some rough things, or maybe I have to upset someone. But you know what? This is more important than anything else that I do. This is the night show. They do actually a pretty nice night show there. They let you walk all the way around the main plaza. Everything's lit up, and then they put out chairs for you. This is the Temple of Venus. So this is the stone serpent I was explaining to you, that it's always in the light because it represents the sun. And then the tongue comes down usually like this, activates the earth. The earth goddess Ixchel, X is pronounced sh, Ixchel here, is all works together with grandmother jaguar Ishmukane, who's the heart of the earth. And like if you compost your fruit or trash and things like that, that's what she does. There's these amazing carvings of her. And there's like us, there's like the warrior, and he's got tree growing out of him with all these masks. And she's taking the masks that we wear and she's remolding them and giving them back to you. She's taking all of your pain and she's weaving it into a new tapestry and giving it back to you. So everything that they do is about taking back, like I said, your power and composting the pain. This is what it looked, I can see 2 slides on here, sorry. This is the Temple of Venus here in the front, and this faced north. That's the only one that has the serpent heads. All the other directions don't have the serpent heads at the bottom. And it's also built over a cenote. A cenote is a sacred well. They're all over the Yucatan. We had the meteor that killed the dinosaurs that landed outside in front of my house in the Gulf of Mexico. Whenever I go swimming, I'm like, hey, how's it going? And so the land is full of caves that are full of pure water. You go in there, you come out, you feel like you've been at a spa. I try not to shower for a couple of days after I go into cenote. There's over 300 to 400 miles of interconnected rivers going across the Yucatan all the way down to Belize and into Guatemala. I don't know if they have some. I think they have some. Now, what happens is that this is built over one, they call it. They actually don't talk about it. And then Straight up north, there's the sacred cenote. That's the one most people have heard of, where they found a few artifacts and a few skulls. Now, similar to here, if you're familiar with Maria, she'll tell you there were phases that Stonehenge was built. She'll tell you that this skull or these bones were found here, but that wasn't the original purpose. Somebody later came along and stuck some bones in there. Believe me, we would know if they were sacrificing people into cenotes, but they just don't find that many of them. And I'm sure it came at a later date. So, now, what happens is that behind it is another cenote. Every single direction, there's a cenote. The one behind is at the hotel we stay at, and it's the sacred feminine. This one's the sacred masculine. So they're always bringing in these elements of their cosmovision. These are all by permission of my guide, Tortuga, which means turtle, who takes us around. He's from the pueblo there. And this is what it looked like when it was first recorded. Who knows when it was first found? There's that. There's the Temple of Venus. This is the inside. So this is the temple you see now. This was the previous one. And there's another one inside of there that they have just about 2-3 months ago approved a research project to take some of the new technology to try to see the inner pyramid and see what it's made out of. So what happens is, I know Julie has been to Chichen Itza. Has anybody else been to Chichen Itza? Were you there when you could climb the pyramid? Awesome. You can't do it anymore. In fact, at this March, there's 2 days of the thing, and they had the rope. You saw the rope was right there by the head. It was okay. I could sit there. A German guy, maybe saw it on Facebook or something, jumped the rope, climbed up, and now they have a rope 20 feet away, and they've left it permanently. So sadly. So did you get to go down into the room with the jaguar throne? Okay. So I went when I was in college in 1980. I didn't know anything about the Maya. I was just like, yeah, let's go do that. Climbed the pyramid, went down in there. They have a metal staircase here where you actually enter this temple, and they have, this jaguar throne. It has 52, okay? 52 is there's 52-year cycle of the Pleiades, and these are jade. Obsidian and jade are the most important stones. The obsidian is to help you in your body. It's like the copal. It's a resin from a tree. It's a very smoky black incense. I had to bring a bunch of it. I have some, but my clients who live over here were like, it's all I want to burn anymore since I came. So, I sat on this. I don't even know if I have a picture, but I didn't understand the significance at the time. Now, all these years later, when I was going to Mexico for 2 weeks, one of my clients said, the jaguar will find you and the shamans will too. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. So the real one, I think, is in Mexico City now, but they don't let you in there, needless to say. This is a kind of a view of, if you were looking at the inner temple, if you took away the walls here. This is Chakmul. People familiar with Chakmul? He's laying like this, and he's got his hands over his solar plexus, framing it. When I went in college, they told us they cut your heart out and put it on his belly here. That's what it was for. Now they don't tell that story anymore, but they do tell a lot of other nonsense. So on the ceiling is the DNA spiral. Coming down the sides of the stairs was the DNA spiral with the feathers. Everything was covered with this. So when you would have these activations, there's a pretty famous story of one priest who went in for 7 days into the temple. 2 priestesses waited for him, and when he came out, he was pure light. He came out, it was like the sun, and one of them died from shock. She was just, all right? And so she's buried there in honor of her underneath there. That's what it is. It's an ascension chamber. You literally become light, like the Kogi who go into the dark to increase their intuitive skills. Everything was for that, to increase your skills. This is what it looks like now. It's all moldy. There's the jaguar throne. That's the inner temple. And there's Chakmul. You see framing his solar plexus. You'll see them around. Now, one thing that I've been researching this for 10 years more, and you have to be a mystery person to decipher what's nonsense and what's truth and what's Spanish. And, because if you come from the Spanish point of view and you come from a Christian point of view and you see people worshiping snakes and dancing around and snakes, people coming out of serpents' heads and jaguar heads, you're like, they're eating and they're devils and they're demons. No, they show a lot of carvings of the human head coming out. In fact, we have some pendants, some jaguar pendants of the human head coming out. That's actually called the jaguar helmet. And that's what you're given by the high priestess when you reach the highest level of initiation. You're actually given that honor of embodying the jaguar. Jaguar is feminine, comes from Lemuria. The Olmecs, the big heads, everybody seen the big heads? Those are very Lemurian. We're going there this year and next year to work with them. And in December, we're doing the Chikaban is a 52-year cycle of the Pleiades that starts in 2 years. So the Mayan elders are going around finding people who are ready for initiation to prepare. It's called the new fire, the new sacred fire. So the red jaguar represents your heart. So if you were standing now, you could embody the pyramid, and that would be right here. I asked Miguel Angel, I said, okay, this is not, they have very good skills. They carve people. They look like people. They look like different kinds. It's not like they didn't have the skill to carve this person's head to look more realistic. This looks like a helmet. I asked him all these questions. He said, oh no, these are from Atlantis. This is a very specific Atlantean. There were only a certain number of these brought over, and several of them were found buried. One by the skull temple next to the Templion or something like that. So Balaam is the jaguar priest or priestesses, and they're now combining it. So one of the carvings I got from the Chichen Itza Maya is that it's a jaguar, and it's half feathered serpent and half jaguar. And that's what we're doing now. We're blending the sacred feminine from Lemuria wisdom with the Atlantean wisdom of the sacred masculine. And these are called Mayan cosmic universities. And one of the ones we're going to with Maria is called Uxmal, and it's the sacred feminine university. This was the Mayan university for a mixture of people, and then Mayapan, which isn't open right now. Between the two, they had underground things that connected them all as well, is where you would blend the two together. Now, another thing that this is my guide Tortuga, and he let me take these pictures. So because you're Maria people, I thought I'd show you. We've got the long skulled people. As far as they know, they're mostly all created, not natural, bound to increase the abilities, and they did lots of other fancy dentistry. So this picture I took in March or April, honey. You can see you can't climb it, but dudes were cleaning it. So I was like, okay, what's up with that? Because I always get there first, before people, before buses, before everything. And these guys were all over like brooms. So I'm fascinated. I'm like, why do I want to take a picture of a pyramid I have 1,000 pictures of with these guys on it? That's why right there. So as you probably know, there's a lot of energy that comes out of an amplified of a pyramid. They are a replica of above and below underneath. And this is a picture that a man with his daughter took when Miguel Angel was working there. And he just randomly taking pictures. And then he turned around and went, what is that? And it's actually, this is black and white, but it's actually purple. This one coming out here. When we were at Uxmal, which is a different site, with my Mayan friends, he got a drone. This was many years ago. You can't fly drones near these sites now. He flew it off the roof of the hotel out over the jungle. He started to approach the big pyramid. And as soon as he got on the top, it shut off and went home. You can't go there with that energy. It just absolutely completely, it's quite profound. That's true for any aspect. So when I was there for the lunar eclipse in March, I stay at the place that's built from the stones, and I'm staring at the observatory, and I watched the lunar eclipse. And the next morning, I went to go on the private tour to Old Chichen, and they asked me to wait at an office. So I'm standing there with all the Mayan guides and guards and janitors, and they're comparing their photos on their phone of their lunar eclipse photos. And I'm like, wow, yours is better than mine, or whatever. And then the guy shows me this. Well, this is night. You can see the stars. This is a picture of his phone. That's why it looks so bad. I took a picture of his phone, And so because he's the night guard, he can go out there whenever he wants. And the full moon came out after the eclipse, did the same thing. Now, nobody talks about this. Hardly anybody knows this. But it happens at night, so they don't let you go. So, oh, I was saying earlier, nobody knew this happened. After they reconstructed it, one guy, I forget his name, was just walking by and what's happening? What's good? What is that? Hey, take a picture of that. And then nobody did anything with it. It's still, again, for 10 or 20 years. So it took quite a long time before we knew and we realized this, but there wasn't anybody rebuilding this to say, we really need this back again. Nobody knew that this happened. So what happens, here's some information about the style if you like, but what's neat is in the morning of the equinox, we were at Sibyl-Chaltun getting our third eye activation. And in the afternoon, we were here because they're only about an hour and a half apart, getting our afternoon activation. So as it forms, there's a sense of you receiving it, even though the head's here, and it starts with this triangle. This is your root. So you are receiving the golden light all the way through and into your root. And then the next one forms, and your sacral, and so on and so on. So when this happens over the 33 days, it's like a commitment. It's like a vision quest. It's like walking the Camino. You know, my elder asked me, I asked him a million questions. This is okay, you're meant to do this, but you really have to commit to it. So I didn't have to actually be there every day, although I would love to. But it's quite profound. So this is my pictures from sitting right here. You can see them here starting to form. And it's you see the light triangles, right? But it's also about the movement, and it's about the light and dark being balanced. Okay. There you can see behind me. And the orientation of this is not directly north-south because they had to angle that stair to get this effect. And the amount of, I don't know, engineering and wisdom and who knows what that had to go into building something like this is quite profound. So when it starts, it looks like this. Just looks like light, right? You can just start to see a little bit of this starting to happen here. As you go, you've got a little bit more. Again, you got just people walking by like nothing's going on. The 91 steps is significant. It makes the 364 plus 1 is 365. That's the Hobbes solar calendar. And this is meant to be a rhythm, a pulse, right? To awaken that koyopa in your blood, to bring you back into your purpose. And when we go here, the stone memory, all time exists. So all the sacred ceremonies are happening. So I do a lot of work with the land and protecting everyone and asking permission so that we are portals, doorways of light for whatever needs to go, the lies, the pain, the loss, and raise that wisdom of love back to us to really awaken the light. We're living portals. We were at Stonehenge private access the other day with Maria, and this wonderful one lady was so nice. She let us go on ourselves. She said, "You want to meditate? Okay, we'll try to move the other people out." It was really lovely. And when I was leaving, she said, "You know, everyone got still when you were leading your meditation." And they knew, even though they were Muppets, as Maria says, they knew, okay, that something was happening. She says, "These places are alive and you made them feel it." And I thought, this is so great. We've got someone working there that feels this, right? So I'll just share quickly more as it starts to appear. It takes an hour and a half or so. So I was sitting, and then sometimes I go because there's no shade. And I had to go buy a popsicle to put my phone on because it kept overheating. I got it all figured out though. So it gives you some different perspectives on as it's starting, as it's happening. Now, this is an interesting phenomenon I've never heard anyone talk about. And when I walked away, you can see how it starts to look like curves, right? It's starting to soften. This is as they are starting to go back up again. So it has that movement that becomes more like a flow. I found that really interesting. There you've got almost your 6. So, by the way, when Maria's coming, we will be there on March 5th. That's why I chose it with Miguel Angel for the first day of this event. So we'll get to experience that. Now, what's interesting is also when the cloud comes, it completely disappears. You can't even tell where it was. And then when the light comes back out, and on the equinox, you have all these people there. And you just, oh, it's like they're kind of playing with us. Here's what, like you can see, just big there, and it starts to faint. Now there's two doors here. The priests would go in one, the priestesses would go in the other one, and they would go up within. Here you can see the tongue as it lays here, and it's carved a little bit like the rattle. So another interesting phenomenon, Miguel Angel could go to the top while this was happening, and he has a picture from the top down. The serpent's head, as this happens, slowly the shadow of the head turns until it's pointing to the temple of the warriors, of the light warriors, telling you where you go. I did get a picture of it, but from the ground, you know, so like, oh, there it is. But he has one from up there. So again, from all different perspectives, you're going to have all different kinds of amazing activations and feelings. And then this was the equinox with all the crazy people, and I took my group. And you've got the 7 triangles. That's it. So I hope that you'll join Maria and I. Also in December, we're doing one with the Mayan priest if you want to prepare for the sacred fire coming. And everything I have was activated here on my way here and activated at Stonehenge. Thank you.
Wow, what an amazing, the Mayan Queen. Okay, that was fantastic opening talk, wasn't it? This is why I work with Nan. I just love her. She is absolutely amazing. So we're going to have half an hour break now for teas and coffee and those lovely cakes that Polly had made. And then if we could be back in our seats about 11:30 sharp, that'd be absolutely great because our next speaker is another amazing woman called Ilona Woods. So enjoy your tea break. Thank you, Nan.